listening to the Kyle Mackey Podcast. Let's get this show started. Ever feel like you're struggling through quicksand, halfway through the pursuit of a goal? It might be the 5th job interview where they never call back. The middle of a marathon when the excitement is gone. Or falling over and over while learning a new skill. What if the rough patch is the key to your ultimate success? Best-selling author Seth Godin, writer of the book The Dip, suggests that the old saying is wrong. Winners do quit, and quitters do win. Every new project starts fun. Then it gets really hard and less fun until it hits a low point. Now, the problem here is when things get really hard, we ask if the goal is worth the hassle. We risk failing to stick out the dip, or conversely, wasting energy on a dead end. So the solution is the ability to escape the dead end quickly while staying focused and motivated when it really counts. This is what sets superstars apart. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into the dip. We're going to break down the 3 curves that define success and failure. We're going to explore why being the best in the world matters so much. And finally, learn how strategic quitting is the secret to getting through the right dip. So as I said, there's 3 types of curves of success and failure. And the first curve, or the one that this book is based around, is the dip. The dip is a temporary setback. It is long. It's a difficult slog between starting something and achieving mastery. But the dip is actually a shortcut because it gets you where you want to go faster than any other path. It acts as an artificial screen set up to keeping people out. An example they talk about in the book is organic chemistry for medical school. Obviously, I've never been to medical school, so I can't speak of this, but apparently organic chemistry is one of the most difficult classes that a lot of people fail out of. But for those who can get through it, then the path becomes a lot easier. It's to push those people who aren't ready to put in the work to gain the education and skill that they need to become a medical professional. So most school programs are sort of like that. They always have these harder programs in your first year or two that push out a good chunk of the people so that those who make it through the whole program are better set up for success in the long run. Now, successful people don't just survive the dip. They lean into the dip, pushing harder and changing the rules as they go. An example of this is the 25-year grind endured by a typical Fortune 500 CEO to land the job. Most people are not just going to end up as a CEO of a company without putting in any work or effort. Usually you need that proven track record to know that you can deal with all the hurdles that are going to come along the way. And to get there takes all that time and effort and energy through that big, long dip. So that way when you get through it, you're prepared for whatever that Fortune 500 company throws your way. You're stacked with the skills and resources needed to succeed and make that company flourish and grow. So that's the first curve. And this is what we're trying to get ourselves through when, the juice is worth the squeeze. But there is 2 other curves. And the next one is the cul-de-sac. So the cul-de-sac is a dead end where you work and nothing much changes. It never gets better. When you find a cul-de-sac, you need to get off it fast because the opportunity cost of investing your life in something that won't improve is too high. An example of this is the space shuttle program. So the space shuttle program was eventually cut in 2011, but this book was created in 2007. So in here, it's talking about investing in the space shuttle program, which isn't going to get safer, cheaper, or more productive over time, but keeping it going just simply because no one has the guts to cancel it. Clearly, somebody eventually had the guts to cancel it. And this was a great thing because of canceling it, now we have all these other companies who have come out and created these reusable rockets, which are doing things cheaper, safer, at a much higher rate. The space shuttle required so much work after it, even every mission to fix up the shuttle so they could use it again. It was very costly, very time intensive to actually use the shuttle. So although as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, I was trying my astronaut food. It probably is the best thing ever that they ended that program because it just wasn't as effective as it needed to be in the long run. And again, thankfully for that, we've have these much cooler programs. Myself personally, I've felt in a little bit of a cul-de-sac lately as well. And I've finally made the decision to quit where I'm at to focus on a new venture. So I've had a business now for 4-ish years that's been doing quite well. But I feel like there is nowhere else for it to really go. I sort of feel like I'm in a dead end. I feel like if I keep on pursuing this, yes, I might have a comfortable life, but I'm leaving so much on the table and so much potential that if I don't make a shift, looking back at it 5, 10, 20 years down the road, I'm going to feel like I didn't give life all that I had to give. And so just the other day, I officially said that my time in this cul-de-sac is officially coming to an end Easter 2026. So it gives me 6 months to plan and prepare, but that will be the end date of the current setup of my marketing company. Things are going to change. Things are going to move in a new direction, but the way it is today can't stay forever because right now I just sort of feel in that dead end. And then the third curve is the cliff. It's rare, but scary. This curve is a situation where you can't quit until you fall off, and the whole thing falls apart very quickly. It's like an addictive behavior. So ultimately, you want to stick with the dips that are likely to pan out and quit the cul-de-sacs to focus on your resources. The cul-de-sacs and the cliffs are the curves that lead to failure. Now, the second thing that I said we're going to talk about is the surprising value of being the best in the world. There is skewed reward and scarcity. And our culture rewards the number one product, the number one song, or the number one employees disproportionately. The marketplace loves a winner, leading to enormous rewards for those at the top. Scarcity makes being at the top worth something. And the dip is what creates that scarcity. It acts as a hurdle that prevents most competitors from reaching the top. Most people don't want to slog through that dip, but those who do end up with the best skills, the best product, the best performances that are going to set them apart from everybody else. Now, being the best in the world doesn't necessarily mean being the best in the world. It's a flexible term. Best is subjective. The consumer decides. And world is selfish. It's the world the consumer defines based off their convenience or preferences. In the book, it talks about a copy editor. For a consumer, the best copy editor might be the one who is available, who's affordable, and is local to them. It's not the person who's on the other side of the world who might actually do it cheaper, but then you have to deal with a time difference, and then the communication might become a little bit more challenging. It's the one that's available, affordable, and local to them. So again, you could feel like there's other people who do the exact same thing as you, and you can still be the best. You can be the best in your world. When I think about like my marketing company and fundraising as a whole, I would say I am one of the best in the world at what I do, but my world was Australia and now is New Zealand. It's not actually the whole world, but there is no way of comparing the differences from country to country. There's no leaderboard that takes into account which country you're in. But if I look at what I've done in the countries I'm in, I can say I'm the best in the world or one of the best in the world. And again, that's subjective to me and subjective to, the industry around. But, most people would probably agree that that is the case. Another example of this is, if your market is an organic market in Tulsa, being the best in the world is the place to be. It's in Tulsa and it's in the organic markets. Again, you might not be the best in the world, but as far as anybody aware who's at that market, you're the best in the world. Now, there's danger of mediocrity. The number of choices is almost infinity in every market, causing people to stick with the market leaders. When people settle for just being good enough instead of aiming for the best in the world, the temptation to be average is a kind of quitting that must be avoided, because average is invisible and average is for losers. Whether you agree with these wordings or not, that average is for losers, the truth of the matter is, if you are just average at what you do, in the long run, you probably will lose. You might have a little bit of success here and there, but the only way to last through the dip, through the challenges, is to become the best at what you do. So don't be average, don't be invisible, don't be a loser. Strive for the best in your world. It's not going to be the best in the world, but be the best in your world. Now, when it comes to quitting, there's ways in which quitting can sort of mix quitting and winners together there. I'm reading winners off the thing. But strategic quitting is how winners gain an edge. So you need to quit the wrong stuff to focus on the right stuff. Strategic quitting is the secret of successful organizations. While reactive quitting when it hurts, leads to failure. A lot of times people just quit because things get tough. And that is not when you want to quit. Where you want to quit is, again, when you're in that cul-de-sac, when it's a dead end, when keep on pushing through is not going to bring you any extra success. To be the best in the world, you can't try to do everything. You must quit the projects, the investments, the endeavors that don't offer opportunity to dominate the market. You sort of notice with like Google, for example. They try everything under the sun. But they actually have, I think it's like the Google Graveyard. It's a website that talks about all the different things that they've quit over the years. And they're okay with quitting. They're cool with trying new things. But if they can't be one of the best in it, they're not going to stick with it. They're not going to try to compete against a great deal of other competitors. They're either going to be the best at what they do. They're going to be one of the leaders. And again, what their world is compared to somebody else's is different. But if they can't be the best, they're not going to just try to continue to compete against other people and just waste money and waste time and waste their energy of all their, employees. They're going to quit and find something new. They're great at so many different things. They've got hundreds of different, sections of their business. But again, I think they've dropped over something like 200 different things over the years. And again, they're not afraid to do it. It's probably one of the things that sets them apart. They're not afraid to quit. They're not afraid to try. But if it's leading towards a dead end and they're not going to be the best in the world, they let that thing go. An example they talk about in the book, though, is like a woodpecker. It can tap 20 times on 1,000 trees and get nowhere. Or it can tap 20,000 times on one tree and get dinner. Success goes to those who obsess and focus through the dip. Another example of this might be actually like Mr. Beast. I was listening to him in a podcast the other day, and he says one of the things that sets him about is just keep on obsessing over making his videos better and better and better. Every single video he tried to do it better, and he's done more hours than anybody else. But that's what's made him one of the best in the world. For something like 7 years, he had like pretty much no followers, and he just kept on pushing, trying to make better. And then eventually things take off. Another concept that they talk about in the book is the pyramid system of quitting. Many systems, such as health clubs, Netflix, even politics, are structured to profit from the uncommitted user, the quitters. These quitters subsidize the few committed members. This is totally the case in the gym. Again, I worked in the gyms for about 14 years, and I think it's like something like 90% of people don't use the gym who sign up for a gym membership. I used to work at one of the biggest gyms, multiple different biggest gyms. I worked in one of the highest end, and I worked in one of the biggest gyms in Ontario, and then highest end was like Equinox. But for the biggest gym, we had like 10,000 members, and working there every day, I'd be shocked if we had 1,000 people use it on a regular basis. There are so many different things that they could use in the gym, but they didn't. The only way we could have this huge gym with everything was with, basketball court, 2 pools, like 5 different studios, huge weight area, huge cardio area, a women's only area, nice juice bar. I think there was like a pool table. Like there was just so much stuff. It was a really, really cool gym. But the only way we could have all this is if we have 10,000 members. If we only had 1,000 members that were using it and all the quitters weren't actually paying, the gym membership would have been so high that we would have never got to 1,000 members. But ultimately, the system wants you to quit because quitting creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. So we could bring more value to those members in the gym because there were so many people there who were just quitting to have the success that they wanted. They weren't quitting their membership. They were still paying for that, which we loved. But it made it so we could bring more value to the people who are actually staying members in the gym. Now, identifying and quitting the cul-de-sacs of life. If your job is a cul-de-sac, you have to quit or accept that your career is over. Some people are okay with just slogging through where they're at. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're happy with where you're at, it is what it is. But if you want to have a certain level of success and stuff, sometimes you have to realize when you're in that dead-end job, you're in that dead-end business, you're in that dead-end educational path, which is not going to have success because the world's changing. Sometimes you have to change it. So quitting is not the same as failing. Strategic quitting is a conscious, smart decision to avoid failing by reallocating your resources. We all have a limited amount of time that we can put into anything. And if you just keep on putting more and more time and effort into something that's not going to bring you any joy, fulfillment, success, financial payoff, whatever it is that you're looking for, you need to reallocate those resources and try something else. Coping is a lousy alternative to quitting. If the best you can do is cope, you're wasting time and misdirecting energy that could be used to excel as something else. Again, that's sort of how I feel in my business right now. Right now, I'm just coping with it. I'm just dealing with it because it's paying the bills. Again, it's the most successful business I've had, but it's not really lighting me up. It's not invigorating me. And I don't really see a way where it becomes the big type of company that I would like to be running one day. And so if I just keep coping with what I'm going through, I'm never going to reach that level of success that I've ultimately wanted. And so quitting is the right approach. That way I can reallocate those resources, the limited amount of time I have, to create the ultimate success I'm looking for. So in the end, you need to plan your quit strategy. The biggest mistake is quitting when you just panic. Quitting must be planned and decided in advance. For example, I've decided I'm quitting on a certain day, which gives me time to create the plan. I've been thinking about this for a long time. It wasn't just like an instant thing, but I've realized I'm in that cul-de-sac. I'm not going anywhere with this current business other than just a decent pay. And for some people, that's great, but it's not about just money. There's so much more in life that you can give and get, and money is not at all. So a suggestion that they make in this book is when you do start something new, set out where or when you will quit and under which circumstances, writing down under which circumstances you are willing to quit and when, and then stick with it. So don't just quit when it gets tough. Quit when you hit certain things. And 3 questions to ask before quitting, for example, is, am I panicking? Panic is in the moment and leads to dangerous, expensive decisions. Wait until you're calm. So, a lot of times people when they go into work and something bad happens, they just quit right then out of a rash decision. Don't do that. Take some time to think about it. Go home, talk to your partner. And if you still feel like quitting is the right approach after, like a week or 2 or a month or whatever it is, then go in, make that decision. Also, knowing who you're trying to influence. Influencing a single person is like a wall. It has limits, but influencing a market, a hill, gets easier as you progress. And what sort of measurable progress am I making? If you're not moving forward, you could be falling behind, you're standing still, you're wasting time due to the opportunity cost. You need to be moving forward. If you're doing any of the other things, standing still, falling behind, not moving forward, that's when you want to, make that quit. And if you don't see a way in which you can continue to move forward by making some changes, again, that's when you want to quit. If you realize you can't be the best in the world at your current dip, reject the system and quit before you even start. So what I would recommend taking away from today's episode. The dip is your friend. It creates the scarcity needed for extraordinary rewards. Okay, don't be scared of the dip. Embrace the dip, but just realize if that's what it is, or if it's a cul-de-sac or a cliff. If it's any of the other things, you need to move away. If you're not willing to grind through that dip to become the best in the world, maybe you need to walk away. Again, it's not what I'd recommend. I'd recommend pushing through that dip because what you're going to get on the other side is going to be incredible. Winners quit often, but they quit fast and without guilt until they commit to beating the right dip. Again, it's nothing wrong with quitting, but don't just quit because it's getting tough or because you're panicking. Quit because it's not the right dip. But when you find the right dip, push through it. If you can't make it through the dip, don't start. If you know before you get into it that you will not be able to make it through that dip, it's too big of a hurdle to get over, it's too big of a valley to trudge through, don't start it. If you're going into a market where there's you're like, I'm going to be the next Netflix and you got no money in your bank account, probably a good chance that's not going to be the route. It's not saying it's impossible. You could go for it, but unless you have an incredibly amazing plan to become the best in the world, and that might not be it. If you're like, I'm going to be the Netflix of New Zealand, which there is. There's I don't even know what it's called. Neon. That person started a company and it worked out. But if you're like, I'm going to take over the world with it, it's a long battle to put yourself through. Ignore sunk costs. Don't stick with a cul-de-sac merely because of the time, money already invested. An example they talk about in the book is one guy who, spent all the money to get through med school, all the time it took, 6-7 years, and then decided it's not for him. He wanted to do something different. Just because you spend all this time and effort to go get an education doesn't mean that's what you have to do the rest of your life. Yes, it sucks. You might have spent $100,000 and it might feel like that's money wasted. But you got more than just that education. And if it's led you to what you think is your calling and what you think is going to lead you to the most fulfillment and most success, then quitting med school to do that other thing is probably the right approach. Quitting a job is not quitting your quest. Switch tactics, so such as a job or product, when they hit a dead end, but remain committed to the large strategy in the market. So if you have this dream that you're trying to build, but just the current job you're on doesn't take you there, or the current product that you've created for your business is not what's leading to that dream success, that's okay. Just change the focus a little bit, change the strategy, change the market, and go for it. So what I would challenge those listening today to do is identify one of your cul-de-sacs, a dead-end project or a mediocre task on your agenda, and find the courage to quit it today. Then identify the biggest possible dip that matters to you and marshal all your resources to get through it to become the best in the world. If you like today's episode, if you like the concept of the dip, feel free to check it out. Seth Godin, The Dip, a little book that teaches you when to quit. It's a short, easy read. It's written in a way that anybody can get through it in just a couple hours. Or you can check out his website, sethgodin.com. He has many different books. But feel free to check it out. And definitely be sure to tune back in 2 weeks' time for the next episode so that we can continue learning and growing together. And thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.